Okay.
Hello again.
Okay. Hi.
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 Today I wanted to ask you just if there is a way that people can see, the truth in a very simplistic way. So the obvious everyday, maybe for somebody who hasn't dived into a lot of spiritual books or doesn't really have many techniques
Okay.
or isn't even familiar with meditation, but just kind of like this simple way in your everyday life to see what is.
Okay. Um, there's actually 4 things that came to me that I'd like to talk about. I call them the 4 open secret facts. The reason I call them open secret because open, it's so obvious. As soon as we start talking, you will see how obvious they are. And I call it secret, also open secret, because even though it's so obvious, yet it's not seen. You know, like Krishnamurti used to say, that which is obvious is not seen so clearly. Okay, so and there are 4 of them, and if you begin to understand these 4, and it's so obvious that you can't, you can't be blind to them. And number 1, I have to open with number 1 by asking this. What do you really, I'm now asking in general, what do you really want more than anything in life? Okay, most people say, well, I want to be wealthy, I want to be successful, I want to meet the right person, I want somebody to love me for the rest of my life, I want to have a home, I want to have this or that. Okay, and they might say, or I want to be enlightened. Okay, or I want, so whatever you think you want most, how real would that be to the person when they say, this is what I really want? How real is it? What do you feel?
Not really real. Not that real.
Not that real.
No.
And you know why?
No.
Because whatever you want, you are missing the one that wants it. For example, if you say, I want to be enlightened, who is it that wants to be enlightened? Me. If you want to own a car, if you want to be financially rich, if you want to be a millionaire, who is it that wants to be that way? Me. Okay? So in other words, what we are learning here, the most obvious fact, is that all you ever think about is me. What's in it for me? This is one driving force in all human nature. You know, I was talking about this one time, and a woman said to me, Bert, she said, you're wrong. She said, it's not all about me. My son comes first. She said, not me. And I said, okay. I said, your son is 22 or so. And I said, do you love all young men about that age in the world? And she said, no, just my son. I said, you see, me and mine always come first.
Because my mom would probably say the same thing.
Right, exactly. You see, because it all comes back, because you still think, oh, it's something that I own, it's mine forever.
This is my family.
That's right, right. So this is it, that we can't help wanting something all the time, and the one that wants it, it's not the thing itself that we want, but if I had $1 million, I'll be happy, I'll be more powerful. You see, I'm enlightened, I am the one that's smart, that knows, blah, 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 you see? So, so that comes first. Now, what does that tell us? That most people are selfish, right?
Right.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you, if you are selfish, it's only natural. It's a matter of accepting it. Because selfishness is the first and most important ingredient of our human nature. You see, until we understand one very important thing. And here comes the second fact, okay? Now, you know from the first that all we ever want is for me. What's in it for me, right? Whatever it is, you see?
Right.
Okay. Secondly comes the second important, obvious fact. And the second most obvious fact is that we are all selfish and we all want. But what does that tell us? Something quite beautiful, because even though we are shocked and understanding that everybody is selfish, yet the selfishness is not such a bad thing when we realize, no, not only that, it's even more important than that, because when you understand that everybody is selfish, this means that we're all the same. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So this is when you come to the second realization, when we have four. The second realization is that we are all exactly the same. We all want the same thing. So now, when we begin to see that we are all the same, wanting the same things, you see, the one thing that we think of is, what's in it for me? Okay? We come to the third powerful law. Not only are we all the same, but the thing is this, that if you hurt someone, you also hurt yourself.
Correct.
If you hate someone, the hate is in you. If you're angry at someone, the anger is in you. So the third factor shows us very, very clearly that we're all the same down deep inside. We look differently, we feel different because of the body separation. But we're all exactly the same, wanting the same thing. Now when you begin to realize that I think of me first and you think of you first and they all do, we have that in common. Well, the moment you begin to realize that we all have that in common, you begin to feel a certain oneness and responsibility, because if I hurt you, I hurt myself. You see, it all goes back to the same. It's all one. So the moment you realize you're selfish, that very realization is the first step to step out of that confinement of just meanness. You see, this is why, you know, in ego all the time people say, I want to get rid of the ego. Who wants to get rid of the ego? The ego. The spirit doesn't want to get rid of anything. It's happy being itself.
Yeah.
You see?
Perfect.
So, but when you accept the fact that there is an ego, and you begin to say, okay, this is what I need to learn, because we all have that. Well, the moment you begin to accept it, that very embracement becomes the beginning of the growth of you, because you begin to love you. We're all the same.
Right.
Nobody is better than another. You see? So that is the third fact. And then we come to the fourth one, which is the most powerful of all. And the most powerful one is that whatever happens, whatever you think, whatever you feel, is all happening now. Okay? Now, one time I was talking with a very intellectual guy. And he said to me, he said, Bert, when you say everything is happening now, he says, that couldn't be right. He says, because as you speak and I hear it, it's in the past. And the moment itself that I hear it, you know, which is the same moment, he says it's present. But what you haven't said yet, and I haven't heard yet, is in the future.
Right.
And then I said, but we're missing the point here. Because if now contains it all, then it's timeless. So if it's timeless, it means contains past, present, and future as simultaneous occurrence.
Okay.
Are you getting me so
Yes,
far?
yes.
So when we talk about now, it is not a time concept of present. It's not the present time we're talking about. We're talking about the moment. And the moment, there aren't two moments in time. It's every moment. So every moment, I'm doing this, it's happening this moment.
Right.
You see? And as I go on and I talk to you and you said right, it's all happening this moment. It might have followed what I said, but the sequential order of events is unimportant. It's all happening now.
Because there's no separation.
There's no separation.
Moments. There's no separation of moments. So all the moments are one.
All the moments are one.
Right.
And they're all happening now.
Right.
You see? Now, the moment we understand that, that's full awakening. Because now we see our oneness, we see that we are love, we see that we are complete, we see that there's nothing to learn, we see also very clearly that You are. You just are part of the whole thing. And then you might say, but what about questions like death and birth and the evolution of consciousness? All that is understood very, very clearly. So now let's go into that for a moment. What about death? What do you feel? I have understood if everything is now, if everything this moment.
If everything is now, then nothing dies.
Nothing dies, right?
Nothing dies.
Yeah. Death is not possible.
And neither is birth.
And neither is birth.
Because everything's
Right.
happening now.
So now I happen to be talking to you, you happen to be responding to me, and we look like two animated protoplasms, you know, two alive people.
Protoplasms.
Yeah, two alive people. So life and death are two opposites. So this is where we begin to understand the paradox and polarities, is that there are no polarities and no paradox in truth. So when we think about there's no birth, then there's no death, then the two are one. If they are one, then who is it alive and who is dying, you see? And then we discover something that I have discovered, and it gave me more peace than anything else. I said, I'm not living now at all. I am God appearing as Burt. You see, and that gave me so much peace, because no matter what I do, it doesn't matter. I am.
Right.
You know, and that I amness is all that there is. And so I can forgive myself, I can love myself. If I feel guilty, I can easily give it up very, very gently. Because when the two polarities meet and they're one, in that oneness, when they meet together, the two polarities, it's like two sides of one coin. There's only oneness. In that oneness, there's just spirit.
Right.
Spirit appearing as you, as me, as the things around. You see what I mean? So you see, from these facts, once we start to follow, and it's logical too. You begin to follow it, you find that, God, it's so simple, isn't it? Very, very simple. And then you'll find that there is really nothing to understand. Like, I used to be very interested in learning about the evolution, how it came to me too. One time we talked about it, and reincarnation and life and death, and do we create our life, and what happens, how we choose our parents, and all the things that are happening. First of all, it's all mind, it's all imagination, but at the same time, it is happening. Just like a movie on the screen, when you're watching it, it feels very real, and it is happening, but it is just a happening.
Right.
You see, momentary happening in the moment. See, and then there is another moment and another moment, but there aren't moments. There's only one moment appearing as many moments,
Right.
but there's only one. You see? Now, when you begin to see that very, very clearly, then you begin to understand things you could never understand before. I get many questions talking to me about, you know, did we choose our parents? Do we choose our friends? Do we have a twin soul? Do we meet our the right person? What is this happening? What's up? But you'll find that the moment you go back and focus on that I am being, playing the human role, I just am, everything starts to become so clear, so simple. So if you have any questions, ask me, and I'll put them into these 4 points.
Oh, in regards to life,
As we were talking, did anything come up?
Well, I was just thinking about, you know, the 4 facts. So, say if I'm in having an experience in the happening, how would I, and it wasn't pleasant. Say if there was a fight happening in front of me, or I was involved in an altercation, how would I bring in those 4 facts into my being, into my moment?
Right. You see, because first of all, you take it from the first beginning. All we ever want is me. Who is this me? It is everybody others me. In other words, everybody is the same, because they're all saying, all I want is me. Me, 7 billion times. Okay? So when there's an altercation, there is me having an altercation that seems to be happening outside.
But it's with me.
Well, if it's with you, then it seems to be happening to you.
Right.
You see? Which also affects anybody who's with you.
Correct.
Okay, in other words, because it's happening in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But that is the first point. Is the first point that is, if I am having an altercation with another, there is something in me that somehow is separating from this other, that is creating, you're wrong and I'm right. See, the moment we create opposites, the moment we think in separation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The moment. So if you say, Bert, I don't agree with you, and of course you have every right to do that, and I have every right not to agree with you too also, but we can talk about it. If we don't meet and it becomes an altercation, then it means you want to be right.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be right, it means you're afraid to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because wrong and right are two polarities,
Mm-hmm.
against each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is what happens. So when you begin to realize that nobody is wrong and nobody is right, it is just what is happening at the moment because of the way we're looking at things. We're looking at things how? Separation, me comes first, you know. So you bring those four into it, and everything, there's only the moment. The moment you bring it all together, there is a cessation of that altercation. I don't know whether I'm being clear, but you're beginning to understand.
I do.
Right.
I do. I guess my next question would be, is there a way during meditation or a meditation technique that you would suggest?
Yeah, I always go back to the same meditation technique. You know, one thing that I love is that, and the simplicity, I am spirit. Okay, spirit is the reality. Spirit, it doesn't matter, sometimes you can call it soul. Some people they always like to divide, you know, like for example, people that divide, well, you're a body, you're a soul, you're a mind, you're a spirit. There's no such thing, there's only spirit appearing as mind, body, soul, heart. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In truth, there's only one, and it's spirit. Okay. So, okay, what was your point here? What was the question?
Meditation technique.
Meditation technique. So when I focus completely on spirit, to me that answers everything, because but spirit is not something tangible. You cannot see it, you cannot taste it, you cannot even smell it. It's nothing and no thing.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, what I do in order to be that nothing, I become very alert in my attention. This is very important. Like one man asked me, and we're talking about meditation here, what to do.
Mm-hmm.
One man was asking me, Bert, when I do the meditation and focus on spirit, I fall asleep. And I said, yeah, the reason you fall asleep, and it happens very often, it is because when you look at the nothing, you look at it in a very passive, unrelaxed way. It's as if like you want, you know what I mean? It has to be, it has to be alert, but yet relaxed. You know, one time I
Like
gave an example. Intense but relaxed. Like, did you ever see a mouse runs into a hole?
Yes.
And then the cat starts watching the hole? He's all attention. So that when he sees sees the mouse, he pounces on it.
Right.
Okay? But at the moment he is reasonably relaxed, but he's very alert. Okay. Now this is the alert thing that I want to discuss about in meditation, is that you focus your attention on this spot. And the reason to do that is that when you close your eyes and you look from the inside to the spot between the eyes, it's almost like there's a transcendence, okay, as you do that. Mm-hmm. And then you look with interest, but not what the outcome is going to be, what the result is going to be, what the answer is going to be. No, you just look at nothing in that state of watching. But it's alert, so you don't fall asleep. Mm-hmm. So when you begin to look at nothing, absolutely nothing, that pure pure awareness, and you do that for a few minutes, you know, if the mind starts thinking, then you go back to that space, and you keep going back to that space as long as you can. And you'll find that you'll begin to, you know, it gets longer and longer in time, you know, until your mind becomes at peace for long periods of time. When you start doing that, then you realize, all of a sudden it becomes clear to you that when you do that, everything starts coming into your life. You know, you want better health, somehow you'll find what is needed, or you want better food, whatever, or money, right, anything at all. People, yes, yeah, it starts coming to you automatically. How, I really don't know. The only way that I can say it happens because at that moment that you look at nothing, which is spirit, you are joining with all beings. It becomes one being, because it is just like having an antenna, you know, and it's picking up all
like
different stations, a radar.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
right. So, and especially if you say, I'm not looking for an answer, because the answer is going to come to me anyway. And you live with that, and that becomes such a powerful meditation itself. Not only you enter silence, and it gives you a relaxed state, but also the feeling, the energy, the aliveness that comes with it. And it's also a secret of anti-aging too. Because if people were to do it, and as a matter of fact, I've heard where people have lived very long, healthy, vital lives by keeping the mind empty.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Yeah, something I like to do is, for example, like if I'm outside looking at the sky, instead of look at the clouds, I look beyond the clouds. So when I'm meditating, if I see something, say if, you know, when you're looking at that spot, you see, say, I don't know, flashes of light or whatever it is, I always try to look past that.
Yes.
And just constantly, so your mind's not focusing on one thing or one object, it's looking past and further. And that I find is very relaxing, but you still have that focus and intensity.
That's right, yeah.
But it brings such a calm sensation.
Yes. As a matter of fact, the benefits are so innumerable, you cannot even start.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I were to do what I've learned from watching the space that I am, spirit that I am, just the I am alone, I could write about 1,000 pages and still not even cover the benefit, the beauty, the wonder of it all. Mm-hmm. You know, so anyway, thank you for asking about meditation too, because that is something that people need. Mm-hmm. Okay, so thank you for listening.
Namaste.
Namaste.